What Might Have Been, written by Sharon Francis, read by Elizabeth Revill. When the object struck Lily straight between the eyes, there was no time for her entire life to flash before her. All she managed to review were the last few hours, but in essence that pretty much summed up the whole 36 years anyway. That morning she left for work with a packed lunch tucked in her handbag. Adam had been walking down his path at number 8, which meant she saw him before he could see her, and in that brief interlude she'd straightened her skirt, tucked her mid-length brown hair behind her ears and pulled in her stomach, ready to pretend that she hadn't seen him at all when their paths inevitably crossed. "Morning, Lily!" She spun around as if he'd been the last thing on her mind, whereas in fact he occupied much of her waking hours and quite a portion of her sleep time too. "Oh, Adam, hi, how are you?" "All the better for seeing you." His words brought a tantalising prickle to her skin, but she pretended to ignore his comment as if it was the sort of thing she heard every day. "Still have your nose to the grindstone then?" He fell into step beside her. "I thought most of the country had the day off today." "No, service as usual at the library, since it's only New Year's Eve, I'm afraid." She didn't want to come across as a whinger. "Day off tomorrow, of course." He laughed. "To nurse the hangover?" "Me? No, it'll be a quiet night in, watching it all happen on the TV. "What? I had you down as a party girl." Partying had never been one of her vices, and at her age she didn't really consider she qualified for girl status either. She simply laughed and dared a quick pat to one of his alluring biceps with her woolly gloved hand. "Oh, Adam, you are funny. I'm going around to—" The door was thrown open at number 17 as the pair drew level, as if whoever was inside was in a hurry to get out. The woman almost sprinted down the path to the gate in time to intercept Adam and Lily. She was scantily clad in feather-adorned mule slippers and a revealing satin dressing gown, loosely tied around the middle, and she made as if to drop a rubbish bag on the pavement, but pulled up short and adjusted her hair when she reached Adam's side. Flirty Flick, Lily's least favourite neighbour. "Oh, Adam, fancy seeing you here. Don't mind me." She straightened her robe, drawing attention to it. "Are you going to the party tonight?" Adam was taken aback by the abrupt interruption. "Oh, hi, Felicity. Yes, I think so. I was just telling Lily about it." Felicity tilted around him. "Oh, morning, Lily. Didn't see you there." She tightened the tie at her waist, only to emphasise her cleavage further. "Anyway, I should get back inside before the whole neighbourhood sees me in my frillies. Hope to see you later, Adam." Leaning around to include Lily. "And you, Lily, of course." With that, she disappeared as hastily as she arrived, inexplicably taking the bag of rubbish back inside with her. Lily and Adam stared after her for a few moments as the air of calm returned. "As I was about to say before—" He nodded towards Felicity's house and briefly raised his eyebrows before walking on. "I know it's short notice, but I don't suppose you fancy spending the evening with me. I'm going along to the annual shindig at number 12. It's nothing fancy, a few nibbles, bring a bottle, fireworks at midnight, but it's usually a good laugh. You've probably seen about it on social media." "Oh, I don't do social media," she replied absent-mindedly. This was exactly what she'd been dreaming of for months. It had finally happened. Yes, she would love to spend an evening with him. Any evening, let alone one of such significance. But there was always a but. Her mind went into overdrive. What if it led to something? What if she was to really, truly fall in love with him? Not the current schoolgirl crush, worship from a distance, fantasising in the bath surrounded by candles and sipping red wine scenario, but proper, core, deep love. Could she cope when he let her down? Was she strong enough? On second thoughts, perhaps she was reading this wrong. How arrogant was she? Only minutes ago she'd been telling him she would be spending the evening alone. New Year's Eve alone. Perhaps he'd only asked because he felt sorry for her. Well, she was nobody's good deed for the day. She didn't want anybody's pity. Listen, I didn't mean to make you feel awkward or anything. He must have seen the conflicting emotions flicker across her face and made his own interpretation. She was quick to reassure. No, it's not that. Oh, honestly, no awkwardness at all. I was just working out in my head if I could make it work. What time I'll be home, things I have to get done, that sort of thing. It's not that I don't want to come. The radiance of his face had definitely dimmed. Well, listen, I'll be going about 9:30. If you feel like it, come round. If not, that's fine, no biggie. It appeared he was disappointed, but her anxiety still hadn't been quelled sufficiently to give an instant agreement. Oh, okay, I'll see what I can do. His car was parked by the curb, whereas Lily had to continue to the underground station at the end of the road. The car gave a double bleep as he operated the fob. She desperately wanted to reassure him further of there being no bad feelings. Thanks again, Adam. Maybe see you later. He smiled and held up a hand, then climbed into the driver's seat. As she walked away, she squeezed her eyes tightly together, silently swearing under her breath, livid with herself. Why had she not said yes? Why, when her dream had been there for the taking, had she not grabbed it with both hands? She was a fool to herself. Nothing new there. All day at work she'd repeated the same internal debate. 1 minute she was going to the party. Of course she was. Why wouldn't she? The next minute there was no way she could go through with it. She wished she wasn't always like this, but it had been the way with her for as long as she could remember. And, as usual, having created a completely unnecessary but nonetheless vicious inner conflict, the day went completely to pot. Her concentration was off, and she managed to misdirect customers, misfile documents, and on numerous occasions found herself in one room or other with no idea what she was there for. She generally enjoyed her work, the quiet, the calm, the routine. But by the time the library closed at 6:30 and she was finally free to escape, it was a welcome release. The streets and the tube were busy. Commuters rubbing shoulders with revellers in costume, already half cut, and the atmosphere fueled her optimism to the point she almost felt ready to take a chance on Adam's invitation, to become part of the celebration. She fantasized about knocking on his door, his face when he opened it, his pleasant surprise. Perhaps he would even greet her with a kiss on the cheek before asking her in. They would spend a fantastic evening together, and then... who knew? Exiting onto her street, though, every step seemed to knock her flatter. A group of drunk young men elbowing past into the station battered her reserve, and a huddle of teenage girls waiting at the bus stop, all bare legs and exposed midriffs, while she hugged her voluminous overcoat tighter, knocked her further. They made her feel old and invisible, and the fizz of building excitement in her tummy transformed into a familiar dull ache of tension. As she passed Adam's gate, she put her head down and marched on, hoping desperately for the first time ever not to bump into him. When she slammed the front door against the elements, the argument struck up again, and she simply couldn't settle. She got as far as donning her best dress, makeup applied and one hand on the door handle, but even as she jangled keys into a sparkly clutch bag, her resolve was failing fast. She held the door open, and Tabitha, her cat, appeared from the front yard, rubbing against Lily's legs as if he hadn't seen her in days, tail pointing to the sky. "Come on, Tabs, where have you been?" Lily relatched the door and sidestepped her pet into the kitchen. "You must be a block of ice out in that cold." All the cat was interested in was the dish of tuna in her allocated corner, but Lily didn't mind that. It might be cupboard love, but at least it was reliable. "You ought to stay in tonight. There's going to be fireworks, you know." Tabitha ignored her. "You know what happened last year? Goodness knows where you'll end up if you get spooked again. Mr. Ahmed has moved and taken your favourite shed with him." Lily remembered how fraught she'd been for the short time her four-legged friend had been missing. "Perhaps I should stay in with you. Keep you company." Even as she said it, she knew she was manufacturing an excuse not to go out. The cat brushed past into the lounge, suggesting she would be agreeable to attention, hopped onto the sofa and stared through narrow come-to-bed eyes. Oh, what should she do? Face her fears and run around to Adam's sharpish before he went without her? Or curl up in front of a chick flick with a hot chocolate, feeling sorry for herself? She checked her watch. It was highly possible Adam had already left. Lily looked from the cat to the door and back again, and then with a sigh kicked off her heels. Home was where the heart was, and when all was said and done, nothing good would have come of her getting fancy ideas about Adam and parties and romance. It never had, and it never would. Her own stupid neurosis would see to that, and there didn't appear to be a thing she could do about it. Heaven knows she'd spent a lifetime trying. A few minutes before midnight, Lily came onto the sofa to find the film had ended and her disloyal Moggy was escaping through the cat flap, which was supposed to have been locked. The screen showed scenes of crowds celebrating at the end of one year and onset of another, laughing and waving, kissing and cuddling, and she felt completely alone. There was no one for her to embrace as the clock struck 12. "Oh, where's that stupid cat going?" She unlatched the door and stepped into the garden, in time to see Tabitha tearing over the fence. Lily stopped at the gate and tutted. She wasn't going to go chasing around at this hour. At that moment, fireworks began further down the road, loud bangs accompanied by appreciative shouts, but at such an angle that she didn't get the benefit of seeing the lights. That must be number 12, where she could have been. The young family next door was busy in their own garden, the mother trying to herd their excited children in the covered porch, as father lit a magic fountain, as far away from the house as he could manage. Lily smiled at the wows emitted by the kids. The party down the road was loud. It sounded like they were having fun. She wondered if Adam was still there, if he'd found someone to keep him company as she had let him down, or if, heaven forbid, Flirty Flick had got her claws into him. "More, Daddy, more!" The little boy next door jumped up and down, clapping his hands in delight. The dad was busy fiddling with something at the fence. Lily gripped the gatepost, absorbing the happy sounds, the flashes of coloured lights coming and going on the skyline, the acrid smell of smoke on the frosty air, and breathed deeply. She wondered if this brand new year could possibly bring anything good for her. Please, it was long overdue. Turning to go back into the house, a flash of orange caught her attention as she faced the garden next door, and she saw a lit Catherine wheel, which the father must have been attaching to the post, spinning at lightning speed. One minute it was whirling and jerking in a hypnotizing dance. The next it was flying through the air, directly at her. There was no time to move out of the way, no time to shout even, as its trajectory sent it straight at the centre of her forehead. She felt her mouth form a surprised "oh" immediately before the missile hit, and then nothing, not even a bump, as she slumped to the floor.